All right, music should be
I don't hear any music, but I don't think I would.
John, you don't hear that beautiful music?
I don't hear that. No, like I can't tell if you're messing with me. I don't hear music.
I don't hear music either. John,
what?
Do you want to have a serious conversation?
I only want serious conversations.
Okay,
What's
good.
up?
I have been affected by my food this week.
Oh God. Mm-hmm.
I had 2 straight days I was out of it due to a burrito.
Wait, hold on. Was it the same burrito or was it 2 burritos in 2 days?
You know how like sometimes you order a burrito and you look down and you go like, no, I can't accommodate that. There's no room at this inn for that entire burrito.
Why'd you order it then?
Because it was like, I don't know. Wife so rarely says she wants like Mexican food, and I'm like, well, I could drink it if you just put it in a blender. I could drink it. Like I don't care how it is. I want those flavors all right now. And she's like, what about Mexican food? And I'm like, yes. And there's like 2 kinds of Mexican food in our like neighborhood. One is just like, all right, everybody crowd in here. I'm gonna throw a burrito at you, and it's small and it's manageable and it's reasonable. And then the other is like, there's this category of Mexican place that is like, oh, inside it's a hacienda, don't you see? This whole thing as like, why you're inside, but it looks like a Spanish courtyard in Zorro.
I like that one. I think that's cool. I want that.
And so we went to that one. We went to the one that gives you a moat of beans and picked it up and brought it home. And it's just a kind of place. And also the other answer is you get to, what's that? You get to eat it.
Yeah, that's true. We never take.
You don't have
to is she concerned that like people are gonna think that you guys are like partying it up in LA, which has like 18,000 cases a day now?
Oh no, no. We literally like you have to park outside on a roof, and then
that sounds weird, but I get what you're saying.
You have to bring a fishing pole with a hook on it, and then you throw it over the side and reel it back up.
So that happened. But this has wrecked you.
John, it was the kind of burrito where after they make it, I feel like you're gonna like this. They cover it in like cheese sauce.
Oh my God, I don't normally eat burritos like that, jeez.
It's borracho or something, I don't know. It's bien pedo, it's drunk or something. I forget what they call it, but it is an affogato. Cheese.
It's an affogato of cheese.
Yeah, and so I did that.
They should
and that was
do affogato with cheese.
Dude, 2 days of me just being like, my entire body is focusing on handling
lose me.
Yeah. And then last night we had spicy sausages. And today,
why not? I mean, your system was in such good shape. You should definitely hit it with a spicy sausage.
And now I just want to be a nap.
Can I tell you my sad food story?
I can't wait.
And it's today, so like I'm still sad from it. So I woke up dead, like I'm dead. I can't wake up. I immediately when I wake up, I pound a coffee that I had left. I leave out a coffee at night so that when I wake up and I stumble to start getting ready in the dark, I can just chug a coffee that's been sitting there. So I do that, and then I head to work, and on the way to work, I'm still not awake. So I decide I'm gonna eat. Okay, I'm gonna go to Jack in the Box, and I'm just gonna get some breakfast jacks. I don't care. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to. I'm gonna get 2 breakfast jacks. So I go, and for the second day in a row, the Jack in the Box is having huge problems. It took a very, very, very long time to get to the line, but I'm sure that is more of a personal hell for them than it is for me. So I understand. I used to work in food service. They hand me the bag, and I put the bag on the passenger side and start driving to work. And because there's one of my pet peeves is having a lot of things that I have to carry from my car when I leave my car. I hate that. I start eating it in the car. That's my excuse. Not that I'm just so ravenously hungry that I start eating in the car. So I reach in, grab the first breakfast jack, and I eat it. And as breakfast jacks go, wasn't super high quality. That bun had seen better days, and more importantly, had seen days. It was an old bun.
It's not now.
But whatever. I ate it. And I was like, okay, that wasn't very satisfying, but that's why you get 2. And so then I reach in, and they had given me the second one.
Yeah, I hate that. You're right.
And I had eaten the first one.
Sad story.
It's like the pace of how I ate it, the emotional experience of eating the first one was all contingent on there being a follow-up. And there was no follow-up, and we have no food at the studio right now. There's nothing here. I'm hungry still.
The specific experience of having gauged your expectations.
And I was wrong.
The sad fact that like it does affect you. That's it. Like mostly it's not the sadness that gets me. Yeah. It's the recognition that I'm of sadness. It's like, oh no, wow, I am that susceptible to sadness as a result of this.
Of the absence of a breakfast jack.
Like I have such specific breakfast jack stuff.
What if I ordered food and they had it and I had it delivered during the show and I just left the show for a few minutes to get it? You think people would accept that?
No.
Welcome back, everyone. By the way, I've noticed that Slate is whipping away before the music is done, which is throwing me off a little bit. But I am here. I'm John Iadarola, and more importantly, I'm a fully satisfied John Iadarola. There's nothing that I'm craving at this particular moment other than covering the news with Brett Erlich. How's it going, Brett?
John, if you want a full explanation, the program feed is slightly behind the audio feed you're getting, and deal with it. No one knows. Also, no one knows what you're talking about. It was.
No, they know. Okay, they don't.
I can't wait to have more.
Oh, what do you know? We're doing inside baseball.
Boom.
How's it going? I'm drinking coffee as well.
John, I can't. I don't know. I don't want to talk about why I'm so behind the curve because it's really disgusting today. But yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm really happy. I had a burrito 3 days ago, and I haven't been the same since, so it's fine. I do want to thank you, John, for having me on the show today, so I can talk about the amazing common room that we have later, and the unprecedented happy half hour that we have coming up. First happy half hour, Judith Ben-Ezra, who is the head of programming, and you may have heard people. Here at TYT, you may have heard people say, "Oh, Judith this, Judith that." One thing they definitely haven't talked about is the
on Common Room.
No, on Happy Half Hour.
Oh, okay. Well,
Happy Half Hour. Why are you whispering?
That's surprising.
It ain't nobody here but us chickens. Happy Half Hour. Welcome to the ASM TDR. So she's on. We go through. People don't know this, but she is an accomplished actress. She was in a movie with Chris Pine. One of her movies won the Razzie. So we go through her entire experience as an actress in Hollywood, and then we cover like Tom Cruise and a bunch of other cool stuff. Then later tonight on twitch.tv/TYT at I want to say it's at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have Sloan Hughes from Funny or Die, aka Cotton Can Daddy on Twitter. Lucid Fox is going to be on, a Twitch streamer, and then also Kitty Cosmos, another Twitch streamer, is going to join us for Common Room. We have some really great questions, like what TV showcast, what TV showcast would you most and least want to have an orgy with? So it'll be really fun.
What
a great way to transition until the weekend.
That is a great question, a weird question to talk about in this political morning news analysis show, but that's a great question. Now I kind of wish I was there, except also I'm very much glad that I'm just gonna be able to like watch it from a distance because I'm exhausted. And tonight I've got a plan to enter the weekend. My wife and I are going to watch A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes.
And I'm gonna eat whatever I want. Stop judging me. You don't even know what it is yet, but you have ideas and don't judge me about it, okay? I need this.
Just anyway. Make sure if it's a burrito that it is a reasonably sized burrito, John.
No, I don't want to still be suffering on Monday for my food decisions on Friday. Instead, I'll just do what I do now, which is I suffer every day for all of my food decisions going back years. Anyway, I just remembered we do the news. So anyway, let's talk about some news. Hey everybody, welcome to this news show. Whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, Members app, wherever you're watching, thank you for being here. Maybe you're on the podcast. That's how I used to interact with TYT back in the day. Thank you for being here. Please like the stream and share the stream if you haven't already, and if that's the thing that your platform is capable of doing. Special shout out this week to our new YouTube TDR members. I can see that Dragon Soldier became one, and Flower Dragon. Thank you for being TDR YouTube members. If you're interested in that, Heather Dalal as well. Thank you. Just saw you sign on. You can click the join button on the YouTube channel to find out about the perks of membership and whether that's something that you want to do. Leigh Smith, welcome. You don't have to. Totally optional. Like everything is optional, but that's just something that you can do. And with that.
And thank you for the Twitch hype train. I'd like to declare my fealty toward Twitch over YouTube. YouTube, take that. Twitch, I'm with you. Everyone else can do whatever they want, but I'm happy for the level 4 hype train. It's gonna be great. And let the friendly non-rivalry begin.
But it's not like, okay, so I get that like now I'm supposed to be like, no, screw Twitch, but I like Twitch and I like YouTube. They're both great.
This is why I like the particular brand of psychological warfare that I wage. Exactly that. John doesn't know what to do now. And that's what I like.
And not just in this situation, in general, I just don't know what to do anymore.
There is no, John loves you all the same. That's the sad fact. John loves you all the same. Brett does not. Brett is with favor.
Sorry. You keep doing this. I'm gonna talk to my producer who's saying that we need to move on. Oh, I know, Sophie. I totally get it. I'm totally with you, Sophie. I see you on the Skype.
This is my play.
Totally right.
No, Obi-Wan Kenobi just gave her 2,000th sub out. Oh my God. Obi-Wan Kenobi just gave 31 tier 1 subs on Twitch. Jeezy crazy.
You need me now? Anyway, okay, no, that is actually awesome, Obi-Wan. Thank you, and to the others. And we will certainly talk about that in a second. But I feel like if any more minutes pass without us acknowledging the news, TYT is gonna boot us off the network. And I don't have a backup plan, so let's do this thing. Okay, here we go.
You do. Fantasy novels.
I don't have a reasonable, responsible backup plan, including the fantasy novels. But you know what I love? I love talking about fantasy novels with that next to me. Anyway, okay, we're doing this. Shut up, we're doing this. The stimulus negotiations apparently could be going in a slightly different direction than they are right now. We're finding out with some behind the scenes information about what, at least in theory, Donald Trump wants during these negotiations. Now, take this with a grain of salt because nobody really knows from 1 minute to another what Trump wants, including Trump. But supposedly, according to the Washington Post, White House aides intervened yesterday to prevent President Trump from issuing a statement calling for substantially larger stimulus payments for millions of Americans. This is according to 2 different people who spoke on condition of anonymity to share details of the private exchange. On a phone call, Trump told allies that he believes stimulus payments in the next relief package should be at least $1,200 per person, which is what they were the first time around, and possibly as big as $2,000 per person. Congressional leadership is preparing a stimulus package that would provide checks of $600 per person. So apparently he was in the middle of formally drafting his demand, which I think means he had a draft tweet ready to go. I think that's what the formal means. But anyway, they told him, White House officials told him that it could imperil delicate negotiations over the economic relief package. Now, what does that mean in practice? Well, it means that they want the bill to be less than $1 trillion, congressional Republicans. If we gave more money, it would be bigger. So it would imperil the negotiations in terms of they don't want to spend the money, and this would be asking them to spend the money. So it's a weird sort of PR move to be like, oh, it's imperiling a delicate thing. No, they just don't want to do it. They don't want to do it, and he would be advocating to do it. Anyway, Brett, I have several thoughts about this, but what do you think about the fact that supposedly behind the scenes Trump is pushing for significantly larger payments?
I think, he's the canary in the coal mine in terms of what people probably like at a very base level, right? He's in tune with that. He's singing, chirping, or the canary dies, right? But like, I forget, but whatever it is, he's signaling. People like direct checks. the thing that people do, the way they would respond is to say thank you. That is fantastic. Trump knows the value of stuff like that. He is the person who stopped all of the original relief checks so he could put his name on them. Why? Because they're popular. And here is what happens. I'm really in that position where I can't tell what's the most insulting thing about it. Is it that people on the right in Congress are telling everyone in the media, listen, people essentially don't want/need these checks? That is an insult to everyone's intelligence because people want/need them, right?
Yeah.
Is that more insulting than the so-called centrist Democrats who are on this stupid bipartisan commission who, yes, are getting closer to a deal, but they think it's an awesome deal to have a $900 billion deal, most of which, a large portion of which is old money. It's not new spending. That's insane. So they're thinking, is it more insulting that they think this is a good deal? That $600 is 15 days of minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you only had to wait 275 days since the last time they did anything. Yeah. No, the Dems are clearly like, other than the few that are pushing for bigger checks and the ones who pushed enough that we're getting checks at all, are like effectively they're the worst people here, not because their position is the worst, but because they're like effectively like if we're gonna have the bad guys, that we need to have people counterbalancing it, and they're effectively they're too ready to sign on to the corporate liability shield, smaller payments, no money to states and localities, that sort of thing. The thing about this is, if Trump actually wants this, then I say let's make a big deal out of this. Let's talk about it a lot. Progressives should push it because theoretically, if Trump does call for it, then that does put a lot of pressure on Republicans to do that. Now, that is assuming that he actually wants it, which I don't think we can necessarily assume. It's very easy to leak a story about how Trump was pushing for bigger checks that they don't then have to send, which makes Trump look good, sort of, but they don't have to actually pay for it. So that's one possibility. The other is that he actually does mean it, because Trump, at the end of the day, other than some of his predilections towards things like authoritarianism and misogyny, he doesn't really have much of an ideology. So he could flip to all of a sudden thinking that direct payments are a good thing, particularly because he would again be able to say that they're his, sort of, and it's not his money. So on the way out, why not send checks to everybody and say that that's his legacy, that he did that? And honestly, even if it is that, even if it's that sort of cynical use of our tax dollars, people do need it. So I'm okay with that. If that gets him out the door and gets the checks to people, then I would sign on to that.
You're saying essentially whatever is politically necessary to get the necessary support and relief, we should do.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And it's crazy. But the other feeling that I have is like, oh, it's back. It's back. All of the old BS, all the like, hi, I'm a Republican. I'm going to give tons and tons of handouts to corporations, which imperil the deficit. And then I'm also going to say, listen, I can't, I'd love to, but the deficit. Meanwhile, under their Republican full control of Congress, they passed a tax bill and engaged in all kinds of behavior that made the deficit, their precious deficit, skyrocket.
Yeah.
It's just, you say that Trump has no ideology, neither do they. Neither do establishment Republicans.
Yeah, that's certainly true, and we're definitely getting ready for that turn. That's going to be fun, and it's going to be assisted by the media, who's all of a sudden going to take it very seriously. But let me dial back just a little bit of the potential hypothetical future praise for Donald Trump by giving you a little bit of what he told Fox News last Sunday. So he said, right now, I want to see checks for more money than they're talking about going to people. I'm pushing it very hard. And to be honest with you, if the Democrats really wanted to do the deal, they do the deal. So, okay, that's maddening because that is what he said to Fox on Sunday. So look, if he was saying that today, that would be dishonest because it would be implying that the Dems are the ones that are blocking that, which isn't 100% true. But at least now there are checks on the table. They're not the bigger checks that he's talking about, that he in that quote is saying the Dems are against when they're not in the deal now. But he was saying that on Sunday when we weren't even sure that there'd be any checks. So he's saying he wants bigger checks, but the Dems are blocking a deal that doesn't include those checks because the Republicans don't want them.
I think you're giving too much credit to like what's happening at any given moment to Trump. They ask him, sir, what do you think about the stimulus? Checks with my name on them, give them, that's great. Someone's in between me, I own the Republic. Everything that I'm
having a little bit of internet issues.
Yeah.
It looks like you're okay now.
All right, let me reset for that. I know it's a live show. Anyways, but yeah, so you're giving too much credit for Trump, who essentially at any given time is saying like, yes, I want checks. And then they are like, don't do that. And he's like, no, I want it. Don't tell me what I can't do. And then he looks at another story on Fox News and they're saying that the Supreme Court is against him and he's gonna lose. And he's like, ugh, I'm mad at that now. I don't care, whatever, never mind. I gotta focus on tweeting about how rigged the election was. Like, I think that's closer to what's probably happening. He's not sitting down and hammering out like a wide strategy on things. Sure. They know by now how to gauge, like, is he in a good mood or a bad mood? When can I swoop to get him to stop doing A, B, or C? Like, I think that's more in line with what's probably happening.
Maybe. And he throws things out, so God only knows what his position will be on this a little bit later on. But I want to give you a little bit of news that's been developing too, looking ahead to the future of COVID aid negotiations, because we're in the thick of this one. Sure, but I'm also very curious what's gonna happen in 1 month, in 3 months, in 6 months, when we might still be really hurting in terms of infections and deaths per day, but we'll almost certainly still be hurting economically. And a lot of the baked in economic turmoil and pain that we've had this year is still going to be affecting people. So what happens in the future? Will there be a future piece of legislation? And I have been trying to figure that out for a few weeks now. We talked to Senator Sanders. He said that he thinks that there will be future bills. Joe Biden says we got to win these Georgia Senate seats so that there can be future legislation. Now we don't know what the Democrats long term will actually push for, although we can sort of speculate considering how they're negotiating on the current one. But Senate Democrats are right now justifying their support for this relief bill, saying, okay, sure, it's not as big as we might want, but it's just a down payment on one that'll be coming later on next year. But the issue with that is that reporters are trying to follow up with a lot of Republicans about that argument that there will be future legislation, and many of them are already going on the record saying that that's not going to happen. Senate Republican Whip John Thune said, I don't see it that way about it being a down payment. John Cornyn said, we'll have to wait and kind of see what circumstances are like. Hopefully with more people getting vaccinated, more people getting back to work, and the economy opening up, there will be less need for Congress to come in, which reads to me as, no, ain't no damn way we're gonna approve that. Lindsey Graham said, we don't know what next year holds, except that we do, for the most part. We have an idea that it's gonna be bad and that people need help, but he's not gonna be interested in that. So my fear is that Democrats, in addition to all of the other ways that they're not negotiating from, first of all, the position of strength that they should have after having won the election, but with the knowledge of who they're actually facing, one issue is that they're either being, I think, a little bit deluded about how easy it'll be to pass another piece of legislation after this, or they're being dishonest about it to justify supporting a bill that's not all that it could be right now, at least based on what we've seen from some prominent Republicans.
Guys, this bill is not a down payment. This bill is a late payment. They gave you $1,200 for 8 months.
Yep.
They're giving you, there is a amazing article on CNBC that people are passing around that's like, $600 doesn't seem like much, but maybe you can use it to leverage getting out of bankruptcy. It's like, are you serious? It's all those things where it's like $250,000 a year isn't much in New York City. It's here's how this family is only getting by with 3 vacations. That is how out of touch everyone who is arguing that this is enough money sounds.
Yeah. that you can leverage it to get out of bankruptcy. Yeah, people who are in bankruptcy have a lot of ability to leverage their like it's just so like people aren't trying to like invest it so that later they're trying to survive right now. It's just so like it's interesting to see in any of these particular cases exactly what way they're going to be disconnected from the actual experience that people are having, but it is always going to be disconnected. Anyway, so look, this is just an early look. We're going to continue to look at this. And again, things to some extent do depend on whether the Democrats take control of the Senate. But remember that even taking control of the Senate doesn't mean that they won't filibuster, future aid. And I know what you might say, well, what if things are really bad? Then Republicans aren't going to do that. That would make them look bad. But they spent like the 6 months leading up to the election blocking any sort of aid. The next election's like 2 years away. How worried are they going to be? They're not really all that enthusiastic about aid right now, and they desperately need to save 2 Republican Senate seats. So I have a lot of fears about the next step for this aid, which is, I think, all the more reason that we need to do everything we can to make this current step as good as it could possibly be.
There was reporting that the only reason that Republicans are tossing around this $600 idea is because they got hammered by Georgia, Loeffler, and Perdue saying all the people need this, they want this money. Why are we not doing it? I need it. I mean, and then previous to that, all the incentives going into an election, wouldn't you want to pass money? Like that's to say, hey, here it is. And they wouldn't even do it when all the incentives were lined up. It's so wildly frustrating. And then Cori Bush, to show people how disconnected you can get when you get into Congress. Cori Bush is like, hey, I've been unhoused. I know exactly what this is like. The difference between $600 and $1,200 is getting in a hotel versus sleeping in your car. And that's it. Like getting a temporary and not like a fancy hotel. This is like getting a place where you park, a motor lodge where you park outside and you have a place to sleep that is not your car. That's it.
Yeah, and there aren't nearly enough people with that sort of experience in Congress. That said, we are going to read a few comments from the audience before we move on to other news, of which there is a lot. Let's see. By the way, I saw on Twitch, Lynn is saying, John, reminder, the only reason that Trump is pushing for a check is to have his name on them. Oh, I totally get that. I baked that into my willingness to do it. People need it.
But that, and my argument is that is an indicator that I've called him the truffle pig for stuff people like actually, the dirty politics stuff that people actually do respond to. He just sniffs it out, and he sniffed this out. That is the indicator that it is going to be popular if you pass it.
Yeah. Over the super chat, Jumbuck Wrangler says, I just want appreciation. I'm up at 4:45 a.m. Love TDR. Keeps me and my boys entertained while shearing, which is a hard ask. There's a lot in that super chat, like a whole life being sketched out for us, and it's really interesting. Thank you, Jumbuck Wrangler.
Wait, shearing like shearing
I think sheep? I
That's
think
crazy. Before we started,
shearing. I have to assume sheep.
Or that's what they call it when all the boys are in a circle jamming out to Ed Sheeran in the morning. Englishman. And the sheep can do it too. It doesn't. It's like everyone's Ed Sheeran. Everybody loves it.
There are situations where I could take Ed Sheeran. 4:45 a.m. is not that situation. Anyway, Franklin Sharpslicer says, well, the Prez leaving is exciting. Despite all the MAGA fighting, we wonder not where he goes. Let him go, let him go, let him go. I want to say goodbye with all the grief you cause. I now think it's a lie. There indeed is a Santa Claus. Happy Fry. Thank you, Franklin. I appreciate that. By the way, I saw Franklin sent in a poetic super chat to TYT on Wednesday. That was exciting. It's like when Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up in the YouTube chat and it's like, what? Wait, you exist here? This isn't your environment. But anyway, that's awesome.
Bearer, she slices between worlds, John.
Exactly.
I'm using fantasy novel lingo to get through to you.
And I was using magic lingo. Okay. Jumbuck Wrangler says taco trucks. That sounds like my heaven. Let's see. Drew Long says, I wish to claim Slap Dragon. No, because I worry that you're just doing that as a promotion for the slap mask, and I don't approve of that. Okay, Marty Cartoonist says, morning, John and Brett. John, second stream people talked about TDR and TYT stream at same time. Love TDR Friday.
Wait, what?
I
no,
Marty,
there's
the super chat. I don't understand.
the different channels stream TYT. Like, so the TDR streams the TYT show at the time that happens, right?
And vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa. So right now,
exactly. Just in case this isn't thrown up as a possibility during Common Room later, Rob Shively says TV cast orgy, The Good Place equals yes. Fox and Friends equals lots of tears. Also, John just kind of puts up with me and I love it. Thank you. That's a good suggestion. Not gonna say more. Anyway, Flower Dragon says, got my DR t-shirt and dragon hoodie last week. Love you, John. I guess I'm really a groupie now. I just heard you say my name. Sending all good vibes from Germany while getting my weekend on. Stay safe, Germany. I see your case is going up. I'm worried about you, but thank you, Flower Dragon. Appreciate that. Katya the Frankenfurter says, hey guys, it's Friday finally. At the moment, I'm really fighting with my depression and your show is the one thing I'm looking forward to because it means I made it through the week. Thanks for the laugh. Anytime, we will try to provide more throughout the day. Hope you feel better soon. British 32 says, hi John and Brett, enjoying TDR Friday. My friend from USA got COVID in Scotland and insurance cost was $5,500 for 2 weeks in ICU. And cost of treatment in USA, he said, would be $150,000 for cost of bed, oxygen and meds. Jesus, yeah, wow. And a reminder too then that, look, it's devastating that like another 3,400 people were reported dead yesterday, but others will get out of the hospital and find that they are now saddled for the rest of their life with unpayable medical debt. Andrew Savage says, I call Savage Dragon. It's yours, I wouldn't take it from you, but you can't also have Andrew Dragon, that goes to somebody else. Really fast, over on Twitch, John's Venn Diagram of Desire subscribed for 6 months and says happy to be here on Twitch for the last 6 months. TYT has helped me stay sane during the lockdown. I've made some wonderful friends and feel like the Dragon Squad is family. John, will you have a TDR specific subscription for Twitch also, please?
A lot of that is like they don't have that functionality on Twitch right now.
But also like TDR is on the same, so on YouTube, we're on different channels from TYT. On Twitch, we're on the same channel. So by subscribing to our TYT Twitch channel, you get it all as of right now.
Yeah, you get it, and then also, yeah, because on Twitch, people stream for 15 hours, and this is our way to kind of give you that thing that you expect.
Across multiple shows, exactly, yeah. Including Deep Dive, which I was on yesterday and is coming back very soon.
Very awesome.
It was fun. Ancient Wisdom, thank you for gifting those subs, appreciate that. Also, Mother Effin Woman Dragon, thank you for gifting a sub. Let's see, Pickle Hippie, too, thank you. The Kurd Burglar resubscribed for 7 months. Says 7 months of sucking on that sweet, sweet Bezos tea. Thank you for that. And Samalin for gifting, very much appreciated. With that said, hold on, Telly Panda says, Brett's beard is looking so dense and nice.
It is a nightmare.
It is dense and nice.
So much happens in it.
Hoda, thank you for your super chat. Really do
I
appreciate
assume that's Hoda Kotb from.
Don't know. Okay. So that said, let's move into this next bit of news. So the plan for the vaccines is to get everybody really hyped to do it and to feel good about doing it by getting people you trust to take it on camera, to get like former presidents or Dr. Fauci or celebrities you really like. We're not quite there yet, but we have Mike Pence, which is something. Here he is getting the vaccine. And I think afterward he said, I didn't feel a thing.
And haven't in many, many decades. It's like, does the vaccine work?
Mother lets me feel.
Does it even work if you don't have blood?
No, it's just his veins are now very empty, little bit of vaccine dripping through them. And I know it doesn't go into your veins, don't correct me, it's intramuscular, I know. But anyway, okay,
Did you see that the doctor at the end was like, I put the needle in and a bat flew out.
That's for Rudy, I think, when Giuliani finally gets it. Okay, so that's good. Look, he's the head of the coronavirus task force. And sure, he hasn't done anything yet, but why wouldn't he get the vaccine before 99.999% of all Americans? Why wouldn't he? And hasn't he already had it anyway? Like that dude hangs out with a lot of people who've had COVID because they're idiots. But look, he's got it. That's good. if that makes a few more Republicans feel confident that they should get it, that's a good thing, I guess, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something people should do. They should lead by example and get the vaccine to show people that it's fine if it's safe, which it seems like it is because it got approved by the FDA. And that's all I can focus on is that, yes, it was warp speed, but it went through the necessary protocols in order to get approved. It's 95% effective. Trump has already had the virus. So you kind of want to go with somebody who doesn't have that baggage on them. And I think this is something that should happen. People should be leading by example, and it should go. There is value in having some select figures within the White House and the executive branch receive it publicly and then ship as many vials as you can to first responders and people who are on the front lines of the crisis, and then expand to the rest of the population. That's why I do endorse the fact that Rupert Murdoch got one of the first doses. Like, I'm happy that he did. Good for him.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I mean, look, we may get confirmation about particular billionaires, but no, it's just safe to assume that every single one of them is getting instant. Like Elon Musk already has it, right? I have to imagine that they're not gonna sit there with their billions of dollars potentially at risk for a fatal illness. I'm sure that they're gonna go get that.
Yeah.
And then he'll probably badmouth it on Twitter. But anyway, so on the one hand, it's good to see Vice President Pence getting the vaccine and doing it very openly. We'll see if Trump does that. I'm assuming no. On the other hand, in government vaccine news, we have this weird back and forth about whose fault it is that more of the vaccine isn't being shipped out, which seems premature. I mean, we're on like day 4 of the vaccine, but they're already pointing fingers at each other. Pfizer said on Thursday that it was not having any production issues, and in fact had millions of doses sitting in a warehouse awaiting government orders on where to ship them. So they're saying, we've got the vaccine, but the government isn't telling us where they need to go. That apparently was in response to yesterday when Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar suggested at a press conference that Pfizer was having manufacturing challenges. So now they're fighting with each other. At the same time, governors and health officials in more than a dozen states have complained about getting fewer doses than they expected. Illinois, Washington, California, oh no, I live there. Georgia, Hawaii, and Nevada are getting about half the doses that they expected. But then there's an added layer on top of that where 2 anonymous Trump administration officials told the AP that doses were being held in storage on purpose, held back to ensure that people who had their first shot of the 2-dose vaccine could get the second one. Another 500,000 per the officials are being held to the side in case of any unforeseen problems, which I don't even know what that means. I think the problem is that everybody has COVID and they need the vaccine. I don't know what would the unforeseen problem coming be? I don't know.
The mountain in the fog is unforeseeable, but then suddenly quite seeable and inevitable. That's like there's I don't know if people watch Veep, but there was a movie by the guy who did that called In the Loop. That is what happens. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
there is, we think people who might need it in the future might not need it, and then have it.
Well, so, okay, you've confused me more, but I'm also confused because there's still one more layer to what we're talking about. So Pfizer says, hey, we're not having production issues after Alex Azar is like, it's their fault, they're not making enough of it. Pfizer's like, no, we totally got it. It's sitting here. We just don't know where to send it. So the government is saying they're slacking. Pfizer is saying the government's slacking. They need to tell us where it needs to go. Some other anonymous people in the government are saying that they're holding it in storage because they need to save it for people who need their second shot. But then why not just send it to the place and then the place has it for the first shot and for the second shot? And so they're saying that we're not doing that because the states actually think that would be harder to manage, which I don't understand how that could possibly be the case, but supposedly that's what the states are saying. But if that's the case, then why are they saying that this is why it's staying there? But Alex Azar is saying that it's their fault, they're not manufacturing enough. Like, it's bad enough if the vaccine companies and the government are talking to each other, but why is the government not talking to the government and at least getting their story straight about exactly what the problem is and whether there's a problem at all. Because Alex Azar is saying that there's a problem. Pfizer is saying, yes, there is a problem, but it's not what he's saying. And other people in the government who won't give their name are saying, there's no problem at all. It's gonna go out eventually.
The only argument that would make sense, if it would only make sense what Alex Azar is saying, if people move after they get their first dose of vaccine and are somewhere else when they need to have the second vaccine.
Maybe.
But that's a ridiculous, stupid argument. Because it is not because who's moving in a quarantine, especially if we're going to like frontline workers and the elderly who are told either to go to the same place to help out or freaking don't go anywhere because you're supposed to be quarantined from people.
Yeah.
That argument is ridiculous. And it is very important to reinforce that there is the only obvious thing. There is horrible miscommunication and chaos in the distribution of this vaccine. Now, there are millions of first dose vaccines in places where there need to be first dose vaccines. There is no reason that the second dose should be anywhere but where the first dose is. They are essentially telling frontline workers who are experts in the field of medicine that they are not trustworthy enough to prescribe and administer medicine according to a prescription, like essentially like a regimen. That's their job. That's what they do all the time. That's why it doesn't make any sense. Do I unequivocally trust pharmaceutical companies? No, but in this situation, it makes sense for the stuff to be where it needs to be. I hold both parties accountable for the FUBAR situation that we have right now. They need to fix it and preferably fix it before I have to read stuff like this, which is he did it wrong. No, he did it wrong. Sorry, you have to die in the meantime.
Yeah. I hate the whole thing. Someone on Twitch was like, cue Benny Hill. Someone said John just did the Who's On First, but for the government, and it's totally true. I'm not an expert, and I'll just leave the rest blank on everything. Just insert whatever you want. My guess would be, and so somebody said on YouTube that Rachel Maddow talked to someone from one of the vaccine companies that said they have millions of doses, but they haven't been told where to send it. So my first suggestion would be to the government, tell them where to send it. That would be great. My second would be send it everywhere. Just send it places. Wherever it goes, there's gonna be people who need it, I feel like. I know that that's not necessarily the most efficient way to do it, but I feel like there are doctors and nurses pretty much everywhere, and there's definitely old people everywhere. I think we just need to start getting as many people possible, like vaccinated as possible. I would just start distributing it. Just send it to capitals, start there. I'll drive, if I have to drive to Sacramento, I'll do that. Not everybody's able to do that, but I'll do it. Yeah, the whole thing is just so frustrating. Also, insane. I know, I understand that, but it's frustrating. The other thing is, I guess it is a good thing that this craziness is already public, because we are literally on like day 4 of the vaccine even being approved to be distributed. And already there are fingers being pointed about why it's not happening faster. And there are vaccines being administered. The COVID tracking project, which I follow, a number of states, like at least half the states, are now saying how many vaccines they've administered each day. My home state of Connecticut had administered like 1,900 yesterday or something like that, which is good to see. I think it's good that we're getting this out of the way the first week, because there's a lot that needs to be sent out, and we are just in the very beginning.
Yeah, and I'm glad there's a vaccine. That's one of those things where you just like have a moment where you say there are multiple vaccines now that have been approved by the FDA, and they are being distributed. And I'm hearing that there are millions of them that are going out right now, and that is great. And more to come. I understand the justification that if you need 2 vaccine doses, there should be an equal amount set aside as have been administered. Otherwise, you run the risk of administering a first dose and then not being able to have a second dose to make sure that those people are taken care of. I get it. I disagree with holding it back at a distribution warehouse. You're just giving more opportunities for that to be lost or messed up along the way. But I don't like hearing stuff like this. I don't like hearing stuff like this, and I also don't think it's destructive to tell people that I don't like hearing stuff like this.
Yeah. Okay, let's push on another news. A lot to get to, and these Friday first hours always burn by so fast. A consequence of having too much fun. Okay, let's do a little bit of good news. Most of the news coming out of the Biden cabinet has not necessarily been all that positive, but in one day we get two good bits of news. The first I discussed on the pre-show, and that is that apparently, at least as of right now, Rahm Emanuel has been sort of like locked out of any cabinet appointment. He's considered too toxic, which is a great acceptance of reality from our politicians who don't generally do that. The second is that for the Department of Interior, one of the people that progressives have been pushing the most for, Deb Haaland, is apparently going to lead that department. And Deb Haaland greeted this news with a tweet saying, "A voice like mine has never been a cabinet secretary or at the head of the Department of Interior. Growing up in my mother's Pueblo household made me fierce. I'll be fierce for all of us, our planet, and all of our protected land. I'm honored and ready to serve." If confirmed, Haaland, a member of the Laguna Pueblo in New Mexico, would be the country's first Native American cabinet secretary. Fittingly, she'd do so as head of the agency responsible for not only managing the nation's public lands, but also honoring its treaties with the indigenous people from whom those lands were taken. So this is great. We've been wondering if this is going to happen. The entire time it seemed to me like it would really be a needless snub to not go with Deb Haaland for this position, considering how uniform most progressive activists and voices have been about her for the position. There not being any other really high profile alternatives that centrists are super passionate about. It would end the Biden and Harris administration's desire to increase diversity in their cabinet. It would seem like this has got to happen. And thankfully, at least one of the things that have got to happen actually happen.
Yeah, I think that's great. And so, I mean, there was this one moment on the town hall with Jake Tapper and in the Biden Harris where they were asked point blank, like, are there progressives in your cabinet? Are there people in your cabinet that progressives would be happy with? And at first, the first person to have this swing in it was Kamala, who was like, Jake, would you like to interview for a position? Like deflecting in a sad, pathetic way. And Biden, to his credit, said, he pointed out, I forget who he pointed out, but he also then said, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. And in the meantime, the following has happened. I'm not saying these are huge wins, but the following has happened. Deb Haaland is in there. Javier Becerra, on paper, has advocated for Medicare for all and will continue to do so into the future ostensibly. And if he doesn't, we'll hold him accountable. That has happened. Progressives have said no Garcetti, no Rahm Emanuel, and according to Politico, Rahm Emanuel has fought very hard to try to get a position in the cabinet, and he has been rejected. There's this awesome title that's like, "Oh Rahm, where art thou?" It's weird, but that's why I love it so much. That he's not in the cabinet. He's not getting it. He tried for transportation secretary. They gave it to Buttigieg, which is itself hilarious. But in the meantime, it's not like there's nothing to point to, and that's good. Is that enough? No. Will we continue to fight? Yes. But it is nice to say that, like, take a moment and say these things are positive developments, and at least you don't feel like you're fighting this completely useless war that isn't going anywhere.
Exactly. And I just want to give a couple of reactions to this news from some of the people who were really pushing for this. So first of all, Executive Director of Sunrise Movement, Varshini Prakash, says, "I am so elated. Our movement just won Deb for Interior. This will be the first time an indigenous person and a badass climate champion woman at that will hold any presidential cabinet position. Congratulations to Joe Biden for making history." And Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says this is a big deal, historic appointment, a visionary Native woman in charge of federal lands, unequivocally progressive, Green New Deal champion, exquisitely experienced. You're gonna do such a great job. That is great news. It's obviously most news seems to be bad, and we spend a lot of our time trying to make sure that people know about it. But some things are good, and we need to take time so that we don't burn ourselves out and lose total faith in the system. And certainly there's some of that out there in acknowledging the positive news. And so there is some of that right here. Now, that said, let's read a few more comments. Other news is a coming. Phantoms Forever sent in a super chat saying, "You broke me down, John. New tier 2 sub." Thank you, Phantoms Forever. I appreciate that. I aim to break all of you. Let's see. Costnow says, "My husband is an MD and got his vaccine yesterday. So far, so good. Just a little tired. People still need to wear masks, social distance, don't touch your face, wash your hands." Exactly.
I talked
especially because.
Sorry. I talked to a doctor yesterday who's in Los Angeles and he was like, "We got measured for our N95 respirator masks." He's not like frontline, but he basically was like, "They measured us for our custom ones," and I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna get a new one." And it's like, "No, you have to wear this one 5 more days, and then we'll give you a new one." And right now, he's just like, the surge is crazy. There are literally 0 ICU beds open in Southern California, specifically in like Los Angeles County, and that means that there's other places that are more isolated that they are going to have to send people to. And Southern California as a district is enormous. It goes up to it's like shaped like this. So you have to send people like around the Sierra Nevadas if that's where the beds are. Like that's nuts.
Yeah, exactly. I think LA County had like 18,000 cases in one day. California was at 60,000. Like California is significantly higher, like 50% higher than the country was several months ago. It's all over. It's terrible. And I saw some doctor in the Houston area anonymously was in some article saying that half of his nurses have said that they don't want to take it because it's been so politicized or something. I saw Seth MacFarlane was saying he's been talking to a lot of people in Hollywood who aren't sure if they're gonna take it now because so many doubts have been raised. We're gonna be turning to that topic in just a second, but just a reminder, this is a great development. It is not a solution to everything, not least of which because even after you've been vaccinated, you could still get it theoretically. And even after you're vaccinated, it still takes a couple of weeks to kick in, so you still need to be careful. And you watching this, you're a great person. I love you, but you're probably not gonna be vaccinated for several months and you still have to be vigilant until then. Okay, really fast, couple more comments. Lenny says TDR Live plus D&D, best Friday ever. Also would like to claim Dragon Dancer. Love you, Dragon Squad, you can have it. Are you playing D&D later? Also, I forgot earlier this week, the cast of Stranger Things played D&D on YouTube. I'm gonna have to watch that later. Let's see. Lena Peak, hey Lena, says conspiracy theorists will just say Pence didn't get the real vaccine though, right? Is the public vaccination that effective in gaining trust? That's a good point. I'm sure they'll come up with something. And yeah, we're gonna talk about some of the conspiracy theories a little bit later on. Let's see, there was one I definitely didn't want to miss, and now I'm having trouble finding it. Oh, Vicky W says, can I be Dragonheart in honor of my brother who died of AIDS 20 years ago? His friend had a star named after him. You definitely can.
Imagine if John said no to that.
I've said no to a few.
Monster.
It's pretty rare, but I've said no to a few. Over on Twitch, the Bugger says, I'll bet Obi-Wan Kenobi is actually Mark Hamill. I actually ran into him at Comic-Con in 2019 in a Stormtrooper costume. Didn't know until my son caught a post on his Instagram. Let's see. We have no proof one way or another. For all we know, she could be Q or Mark Hamill. We don't know. Let's see. Heinrich Zimmerman resubscribed for the 4th month. Says, Dear John, you are my Turk of the year. German greetings from Scotland in everlasting love and devotion. Your Fulgurite dragon. Well, thank you. I don't deserve it, but thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Finally, Tina in the super chat says, my brother works at a hospital in Austin and will get his vaccine tomorrow. Can I claim Little Waddle's dragon? You can, and that's adorable. That's adorable. Okay, that said, let's turn in an unfortunate direction, having to do the vaccine and one of my people in this country that I hate the most. I've been saying for some time that Fox News is going to turn against the vaccine. And I think generally the response to that has been, oh, come on, like, sure, maybe a little, but they're not gonna do that. I mean, after all, they want the economy to reopen. They want people to be able to move past this thing. Okay, sure. But they got to advocate, like there's so many crazies that want a voice in the media. And we're gonna start with the dipping of the toe in the waters of that with Tucker Carlson, who had this to say on his show last night.
Coronavirus vaccine is finally here. It's arriving in small bottles, but with a glitzy entrance. The coronavirus vaccine has been accompanied by the kind of corporate image campaign you typically associate with higher-end consumer products. Imagine the rollout for a Hollywood blockbuster, the new iPhone. That's what it's like. Suddenly, the COVID vaccine is on the morning shows. It's being touted on celebrity Twitter accounts. And the news about it is uniformly glowing. This stuff is just great. A lot of famous people say so. Feel lucky too when you finally get the vaccine. That's how a healthcare worker in Juneau, Alaska feels tonight. Lucky. She got the vaccine 2 days ago. The woman had no history of allergies, but within minutes she developed a severe anaphylactic reaction to it and then had trouble breathing. She wound up in the emergency room overnight. It was all a fantastic experience, according to the doctor who treated her. Quote, during the whole time, she was still enthusiastic that she got the vaccine and the benefits it would give her in the future. What a cheerful patient she must be. We've got to assume she is in any case because we can't really know. The authorities didn't release her name. All we know is she's a highly satisfied customer. Yet another. Have a vaccine and a smile. Just do it. So how are the rest of us supposed to respond to a marketing campaign like this? Well, nervously. Even if you're strongly supportive of vaccines, and we are, even if you recognize how many millions of lives have been saved over the past 50 years by vaccines, and we do, it all seems a bit much. It feels false because it is. It's too slick. Come on. This is patronizing. Stop with the slogans. Better to treat Americans like adults. Explain the benefits, be honest about the risks, and let the rest of us decide. In this country, we control our own bodies. They're always telling us that. But no, suddenly the rules have changed. On the question of the corona vaccine, our leaders are definitely not pro-choice. Their view is do what you're told and don't complain. No uncomfortable questions.
Okay, there's a lot there. Yeah, no, talk to them like they're adults. Don't patronize them. He's literally using the voice for his audience, which he always uses, which is how you like dress down a naughty puppy. But they're being patronizing. Brett, I'm gonna let you get in. There's a lot that I had to say, but what do you think about that?
So he's saying this is unprecedented that there would be PR for a medication, for a drug. Have you watched every commercial break during your show? It's all like it is ridiculous. The thing that pays your bills is PR campaigns around medication, whether it's the actual medication itself or, hey, I'm Tom Selleck. Do you have Medicare Part B? I can give you a really awesome, you get everyone, Magnum PI and Medicare supplements. Like it's all BS. Then he advocates for the doxing of someone who received medical care. We don't know her name. Can you please send me her address? If you can't send me her address, can you draw me a picture of her? No, you can't. Why? Because that's wildly, bad and
unethical.
Unethical, maybe. And that's where he like slides the counter arguments. Here is the counter argument. He said it. He acknowledged it. It's actually a good counter argument, but I'm going to say maybe, and then just kick it to the side and go straight toward like they're saying, no, if you question anything, you're absolutely evil in terms of everyone else. No, he wants credit for coming up with the questions when his job is to provide the answers. Like you're TV news guy. There's answers for all that stuff. Like anaphylaxis is treatable. Has it been announced? Absolutely. Anaphylaxis is something that people can go into and they say, and Fauci has said it on multiple media outlets. Like if you have a background of anaphylactic, of allergies, essentially, then you should be careful. We take that into consideration. We've reported it. It's 95% effective, but it is Munchausen syndrome that he relies on. He just wants to poison everyone's mind just a little bit and make them so that he keeps them dependent on him.
Exactly.
You know that little thing in your mind that you should probably either ask the question about and earnestly seek the answers? No. You're special. You're one of us. And they're all elitists that we're smarter than here. This guy talks about glitz. The guy is a freaking pleated pant that got struck by lightning and came to life. Like he is,
oh my God,
100% that guy.
He is, and yeah, I agree. He wants you said, they're supposed to provide information. Well, of course, like, yeah, theoretically a reporter should, but he doesn't want to be the person that just comes out and says the vaccine is bad, don't take it. What he is doing is instead trying to appeal to people who want that message by, in a very cowardly fashion, just raising questions. I don't know. I'm just saying no one will question the vaccine. Well, in theory, during the trials that were done, the scientifically rigorous trials that were done, that's sort of the questioning of the vaccine, and the continued watching of people who've taken it and seeing what sort of side effects. That's the questioning of the vaccine. Dunces in the news or your viewers who probably already have a predilection against vaccines and a predilection against taking the virus serious in the first place, that is not the questioning. What he is doing is he is taking anecdotal information about somebody having a negative reaction, which we know exists, except he's not putting it in context. He's not saying 50,000 people were vaccinated yesterday and one had a reaction, because that would be the context we need. He's saying, I'm gonna focus on this one thing that happened. We know that sometimes people have negative reactions. He's being very disingenuous. And the overall thesis is there's a glitzy PR campaign for this thing. He likes that because he can talk out against it, and it sounds like he's being a populist. He's speaking out against corporations, these elitists. But his evidence isn't that there's a glitzy commercial campaign. The evidence is that people are enthusiastic, that a celebrity said they want it, that somebody was filmed having it. That's not the corporations, that's a desperate country that's been through a ton, in no small part due to his advocacy for the virus over this year, that desperately wants some good news. And so yes, as people start to get vaccinated, we're gonna wanna see that. And as celebrities are gonna try to encourage people to get it because they want the country to go back to normal too. But he can't actually demonstrate his real thesis. All he has is, look, people are happy that something bad is happening from the point of view of the virus. And he can't have that. Because again, as we've been saying for a very long time, if at the beginning of the year, the virus had developed sentience and had decided, I'm gonna have a media figure advocate for me all year, I defy you to come up with a way that Tucker Carlson could have done a better job in doing that. Like, he seems to be personally bothered by the fact that people are finally becoming immune to this thing, as if the vaccine is controlling his show, controlling his script. The entire thing is just so unrelentingly frustrating. He goes from telling people not to lock down, to not wear masks, to send their kids out, to travel for the holidays, all of that. Don't ask for anything, you shouldn't get any aid, you should expose yourself. And now we finally have the solution that they had been pitching for months as the miracle that'll let everything go back to normal, and he's eagerly speaking out against it, making people question it. The only result of that segment is fewer Tucker Carlson fans getting vaccinated and more people getting sick and more people dying, which is at least consistent with his strategy so far this year.
But this is they're addicted to dopiates. Like they're addicted to Tucker Carlson. They're addicted to this sense of superiority, which is not related to being better. It's related to feeling better. They're gonna go out, they're gonna live their lives, and this is the dose that they take every day at the same time on a very strict regimen to do things that are actually toxic. It is one of the most toxic relationships in all of media. Going and watching Tucker Carlson and getting bad advice that's intended to make you feel better, but is wildly destructive to your overall health, mentally and now physically. But he's so cute.
There'll be no consequences. Like, I know it's bombastic and you're not supposed to say it, and I can't prove it, and I'll probably get sued, and they didn't put through my op-ed for it. But like, does anyone watching this, we can't say who died because of the things he said, but does anyone doubt that those people exist?
No, 100%.
And he makes more money than he did before. He has more control over Fox News than he did before. He spent a year of his career advocating for people to die from a virus, and his life is much better off than it was before that.
Tucker should do man on the street segments where he just goes out and talks to people without a mask. He's never gonna do it. He's too smart.
No, he's protected. He's at home. He's at one of his multiple broadcast quality studios at his multiple homes.
Gotta love
richer than he was before.
Later in the show, we have stuff from that same, I think it's from that same show. You don't know what it is, John, but and again, well, not again. I think it's also evidence that he just has nothing to talk about right now. And he doesn't care to get more stuff to talk about. We have something he spent 7 minutes on in his 44-minute show. It's amazing.
Well, we'll be getting to that in just a few then. But first, a couple comments, and we will be moving on to garbage people after this. I'm gonna get trashy in position. But first, Tom Ralph in the super chat says, I'm so glad Tucker is out there telling me how I'm meant to think and feel. Doing it for myself takes too much time out of my busy schedule of hate tweeting and cruising X-hamster.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's so condescending. It's like the goal is to get his fans to think that they are discovering secret information that makes them smarter and more in the know than everyone, which is fine. Lots of grifty media is designed around that. But along the way, he is talking to them like they are the stupidest people on the planet. It is so condescending. There are a lot of shows that I don't understand how a person could sit through more than like 5 consecutive seconds of it. That is definitely one of them.
No, the cadence of most television is just children's shows for adults. Like even if you watch the news, they talk very slowly, and they're like, many people always have problems finding the door. But what, it's all like this this weird cadence that is just like children, and it's everywhere. Like most internet influencers are like, hey everybody, this is gonna be a great time. We're gonna teach you how to make a baking soda vinegar
vodka martini
volcano. Yeah, no, I was gonna try saying vinegar and volcano at the same time.
No, you're probably
while just needing a drink. It is 11 a.m.
It is, there's probably time. Okay, Jason Primus sent in a super chat saying, I discovered your channel over the summer and thank you for keeping me both informed. Used to be a centrist, but I'm swinging left, baby. Love Brett and Fridays. I'm claiming Glory Days Dragon. Well, thank you, Jason. A lot of people apparently first started watching the show during the pandemic, and I'm appreciative for that. It's like the one good thing that's happened to me this year. Thank you. Okay, let's see. In Twitch, the Curd Burglar says, I think I have a free medium 2-topping at Domino's. You say the word, it's yours, Johnny Pie. Thank you. I gotta wait a couple hours for pizza. Thank you. I'm definitely gonna be getting food after the show, though. I'm so hungry. The Dark One resubscribed for the 7th month. Thank you for that. Vampire 666 Tweety says, I'm taking Zombie Girl Dragon and I am subbed on Twitch and YouTube. Woohoo! Happy holidays, everyone. A double sub. Thank you for that. Totally unnecessary, but very much appreciated. Okay, Brett. Wait, hold on. Dino Boyer has a question. Is that an album on Brett's couch?
Is that an album on my couch?
I think it's a laptop.
No, that's like a laptop. This is the only album in this room is this one.
What's that?
It's my mom gave it. This is War. Spill wine.
That's a good song. We're gonna have to let Bart know if that's a good one. Anyway, okay, so with that, is Brett going first or am I going first? Brett, why doesn't Brett go first?
All right.
Director, I'll launch us into this, and then Brett will go first. But first, it's the end of the week, and it's finally time to take out the trash. Okay, it's been another garbage week, and we've got some garbage people for you. Brett, who is your garbage person of the week?
My garbage person of the week is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's Fox News host. He's the kind of Fox News host that wants to take 7 minutes out of his show so he can talk about whether the First Lady's doctorate means anything. And he's gonna take a bunch of quotes out of context. But let me just first show you a little bit before I tell you what he did after this that made it get even stupider.
Imagine your nightmare health emergency. You're on vacation with your family when suddenly you double over with shooting chest pains and lose consciousness. You wake up strapped in the back of an ambulance, racing to the emergency room. Paramedics hover over you, trying to keep you calm. You've had a massive coronary, they shout over the sirens, but we're gonna take good care of you. You're about to see one of the best doctors in the country. In fact, Whoopi Goldberg just said this person should be the next Surgeon General. So you slump back onto the stretcher, deeply relieved. Maybe you're gonna make it after all. Moments later, they wheel you into the hospital, and there she is, the famous doctor they just told you about. But something's wrong. She doesn't have a stethoscope. There's not a chart or an EKG machine in sight. Instead, she's turning on what appears to be an overhead projector. "Jill," a nurse yells, "there's a patient here. What do we do?" "That's Dr. Biden to you," the woman replies icily.
That is the dumbest thing he has literally ever said. And he has said a lot of really dumb stuff. That's one of the most condescending things I've ever seen in the news, I think.
It is.
That's amazing.
7-minute, 40-second segment that he did about Jill Biden's doctorate. And okay, so this never happened. This would never happen. That whole setup, his hypothetical situation doesn't happen. And he spent that much time setting up something.
Does it not happen?
No, because it doesn't.
Wheel you in and there's.
But it's like, it would be ridiculous if someone was choking and someone in a room yelled, "Is there a doctor?" And Jill Biden responded, "I am a doctor of education. I can't help you." This is all a waste of time. But you know what? It's Jill Biden. It just wouldn't happen. She would sit there and wait for a medical doctor to step up. And this is like the very specific thing. Everyone knows what you're talking about when you say Dr. Jill Biden, like, and because they've known it. And they're trying to talk trash on someone who just did a doctoral dissertation. Why are we having this conversation? Why? Because there's nothing else for him to talk about. There's plenty that he should be talking about, but he has decided that it is more beneficial for him to have a 7-minute, 40-second hate sesh against Dr. Jill Biden because she never insisted that you call her a doctor. Like the levels detached from reality it has become. It's intensified in its detachment from reality because she, like, when they introduce her, this all, for people who aren't familiar, this all started with a Wall Street Journal op-ed by a guy who received an honorary doctorate and hasn't used it essentially in 20 years, and is saying that because he himself got an honorary doctorate that meant nothing, that Dr. Jill Biden's educational doctorate, for which she wrote and defended a dissertation, she shouldn't call herself doctor. Since then, everybody's insisted that what Jill Biden is doing is running into rooms where people say Jill Biden, opening them and saying it's Dr. Jill Biden, closing them and running away. That's not happening. Like at the DNC, they say Dr. and President-elect and Dr. Biden. Yeah, and Dr. Jill Biden. Like that's it. It's in a formal situation. As on a business card, it will say I'm a lawyer, Esquire. On her business card, it says Dr. Jill Biden, ED.D. Like that's it. That's how she's a doctor. She knows that. But they are all creating this fake situation where these libs are being elitist. And people like, wait, I'm not playing it now, but Ben Shapiro was like, she's not an elitist. I went to Harvard.
Exactly. That's a weird, God. Yeah, so she had no part at all in any of this. But you need an opponent to have a fight. So this rando guy decides to attack her for being called doctor, which she doesn't insist on. She doesn't respond to that. The only response, the only opposition has been from a few other people who are like, oh, hey, by the way, doctorates are still tough to get. It's not the same as a medical doctor, but it's still tough. And that's enough that now that has become like a 2-week thing for the right to obsess over, because there's a goal. The goal is I want to deliver hatred for this person because my fans want to see that this person's a bad thing and they want to hear me attacking them. And if there was something good to do that, like if she had been running into rooms and telling people, you gotta call me doctor, they would use that, but they don't have that, but they need to pretend that they do. So they just come up with, all of a sudden it's now an issue that people are called doctor, even though, as many people are pointing out, that hasn't stopped him from referring to Sebastian Gorka as doctor 1.5 million times. And you know why? Because this is not actually Tucker Carlson expressing a position. His position seems to be that we shouldn't call people doctors if it's not a medical doctorate. That isn't what it is. He just doesn't like Jill Biden, and he knows his audience won't. Like, this is what the conservative media is. They can take this entire thing, and depending on who it is, their entire approach to it is totally different, knowing that their audience isn't gonna notice or care about the hypocrisy. They weren't like mad for the last year as Sebastian Gorka was being referred to as doctor. And next week when Gorka's on Tucker's show and they call him doctor, they're not gonna care then either. This is so entirely devoid of any actual opinion other than her last name's Biden and so I hate her. And I kind of also hate education too, although I don't mind when my right-wing media people went to some nice school or whatever. It's just so fake. It's so entirely fake and BS. He's an elitist who has to occasionally pretend to be attacking the elites because he wants to be seen as some kind of populist. It is the most fake right-wing populism imaginable, and that is saying something because fundamentally it doesn't actually exist.
In the rest of his segment, he goes through and says like so he assigned someone very obviously, either he assigned someone or he did it himself to go read Jill Biden's dissertation. And in one of his like key things is just wildly misunderstand. She's like it's a point where he says like in a class, 2/3 or 3/4, 75% of the people are white and the other, quarter are African American and there's a quarter Latino or something like that. And he's like, problem solved, she doesn't do math right. It's like, no, on censuses, you have to say black or white and then subset of, it's like, are you Hispanic?
Yes.
Are you like, Native American, Latino, black, Latino, white, Latino?
He's an idiot.
And it's like, and he's like, I got you. And it's like, no, that's not how any of this works. And now he's going through, and he says that this dissertation is a national disgrace, essentially. I don't know if it's those exact words, but it's on par with her, Dr. Jill Biden, being called a doctor and having this dissertation is a national disgrace. Meanwhile, okay, great, got it. Now I'm gonna go back to giving like a full, tongue down of the president, windmill cancer, covfefe. Like that's what he does. So which is it?
Well, and by the way,
it's wildly inconsistent.
If you're a conservative and you're watching this, if Melania had a doctorate, would he be attacking her for having a doctorate? No, nobody. It feels so pointless sometimes talking about the news because all of it is just so obvious. We can all see the matrix. The code is in front of us. We know every bit of what his audience is thinking, every bit of what he's thinking, every bit of what Fox executives are thinking. All of it is just so obvious. He doesn't care about anything that he's saying. It's just grift. And it fits into the long-running anti-intellectualism, which we need to be on the watch for, because that's not just the conservatives that are doing that. But yeah, the entire thing is just so damn frustrating. It's all so fake. Anyway.
So yours now.
Yeah, it is mine. And by the way, mine is gonna be pretty fake too. For my garbage person of the week, I have mainly one, but I have a second one. But both of these, it's not really them. It's a type of person. It is a type of faux outraged person who is suddenly gonna be very worried about decorum, not after just surviving and defending the Trump years and all of what that meant, but serving as his mouthpiece. And so here I'm talking about Kayleigh McEnany. She's gonna be the leadoff for this, although we're gonna get to Marco Rubio too. And they're very, very angry about something that a Biden person said about them. And they don't think that there was enough decorum shown. And so all of this can be traced back to a Glamour interview where Jen O'Malley Dillon, who's a Biden campaign manager, was interviewed. She was asked, that might be what we're missing, is that redefining of compromise, talking about how Biden always wants to reach across the aisle. That it is, or it can be the ultimate victory. And she says, yes, frankly, I hope that this is bleeped out. We'll see. Yes, frankly, that's what, nope, it's not. Okay, so yes, exactly. And frankly, that's what we need. The president-elect was able to connect with people over this sense of unity. In the primary, people would mock him like, you think you can work with Republicans? I'm not saying they're a bunch of frackers. Mitch McConnell is terrible. But this sense that you couldn't wish for that, you couldn't wish for this bipartisan deal, he rejected that. And she goes on to say unity is good, blah, blah, blah. This whole argument that Biden always does that she's doing is that, yes, they're bad people, but we should still work with them. And by the way, I'm a BSG fan, so I'm saying frackers, but she didn't. You understand what she actually said. But in the context of an entire paragraph about how we need to work together and on all sorts of stuff that's gonna be way more up the alley of Republicans than Democrats. So she used the F word, and oh my God, are they just so incensed that someone could be so rude to use language like that in a time that has been so polite. So the right has just been so nice to the left and to centrists this whole time. So Kayleigh McEnany sends one of my favorite tweets of all time, where I'm gonna again, from now on, when I say frackers, you know what she actually said. She tweets, Biden campaign manager called us frackers. Literally his exclamation points. What a weird thing. But she says she can try to walk back, but this says volumes about her boss, who calls for unity while shouting that we are assaulting democracy. They think we are deplorable, irredeemable frackers. Sick. Okay, so Jen O'Malley Dillon calling them frackers says a lot about Biden. But all of the stuff that Trump himself has said, calling people pigs and horse-faced and all that stuff, that doesn't say anything about him. She doesn't care. Again, this is like what we were just talking about with Tucker. Like, yes, Kayleigh McEnany, her day was ruined when she saw a headline about the Glamour interview. She's really, really affected by being called a fracker. No, it's fake. Everybody can see through it. So much of our politics is exactly this. It is people pretending to have a position or an emotion or whatever. They don't actually have it. And I criticize Trump, but she's been just as bad. Ellie Misdall's friend of the show brought up one of her old tweets saying, "How I Met Your Brother, never mind, forgot he's still in that Hutton, Kenya, #Obama TV shows." Because remember, she is herself a racist. She doesn't just work for racists. She is herself one. But Brett, she is just so hurt by the fact that this woman said that in an interview.
I mean, you hit them all. It's that fake outrage. And also, like, let's get specific, Kayleigh. All of Trump's supporters think a good portion of Republicans in the Senate are effers. That's not, she wasn't talking about Republican voters. O'Malley Dillon wasn't talking about Republican voters. She was talking about Mitch McConnell. She was talking about bad faith actors. She was talking about the swamp. And I think a lot of Americans think that people in that swamp are effers. Why? Let's look at one case in particular, coronavirus aid, something your boss wants to send checks for right now. Who's in the way? The effers, Mitch McConnell. And people like that who don't want to help human beings. And why do they say effers? Because they're effing us. They're effing us right now. Do you feel it? It feels like hunger. It feels like not distributing the vaccines as fast as they need to in an efficient manner. It feels like getting hung out to dry with empty promises from senators that are on your side of the aisle, blocking your president's agenda. Those are effers. And you should be echoing that chorus. And you know who has echoed that chorus in a way that uses foul language like that? Your boss. That's what we're mad at. You, Kayleigh McEnany, are signaling essentially that you're abandoning the MAGA people on your side of the aisle. Why? Because you're siding with Mitch McConnell, who most people freaking hate. He is the least popular politician in America. Less popular than Nancy frickin' Pelosi. And you're on his side against whom? MAGA. So Kayleigh, get it together. Maybe there isn't a tab in your binder for that, but you're messing up and you're letting down your president and your voters.
You're totally right. And you're right even in another way that, so who supposedly likes a politician that swears a ton and tells it like it is, talks like I do, straight shooter, all that? Trump fans, that they supposedly like that. And we don't get it because we're like lefties on the coast or whatever. We don't get that. This is how actual people talk. Oh, but as soon as somebody that works for Biden does it, it's a bad thing. Look, obviously, as I'm sure many people have acknowledged, all of this is the most artificial issue ever. Kayleigh doesn't care about this. Nobody cares about this. By the way, Marco Rubio effectively said the same thing. I'm not even gonna read his comment because it's even more fake. Marco Rubio,
but his
he's
is
so
more
hurt.
pathetic. His is more pathetic than Kayleigh because he's been called Little Marco. Marco has been on the receiving end of essentially the same thing, being called an effer.
Exactly.
And he's like, you sure may have another. Thanks to Faiza Harbi for giving us this idea. We have a new segment on the Young Turks called the Beta Bus. Like the Beta Bus is coming, and Marco is in the intro because he's such a tool spank.
Wonderful. Anyway, yeah, no, I had more to say, but again, like I was saying with Tucker, like it's all so. But this is how it's gonna be now. Like after. I mean, they're literally still trying to steal the election right now. Flynn is out there saying the military needs to go in and reconduct elections. Don't say the F word. That would be an offense in our
fascism.
Exactly. No, fascism is okay. Fracker is bad. Anyway, yeah. So I'm done with this. Haley's the worst. Marco Rubio is the worst, but even less interesting than Kaylee. I hate everybody. Everybody's the worst. Okay, now that said, those are our garbage people. But what about you? Well, 13,000 of you voted, and the number 5 garbage person this week at 2% of the vote is Linwood for being generally insane and for defending Kyle Rittenhouse. Number 4 at 7% of the vote, we have Kelly Loeffler for taking smiley pics with the KKK. At 3rd this week, we have at 8% of the vote, Stephen Miller for his alternate electors BS. Sorry, Stephen, you can't quite do it. Number 2 at 22% of the vote is Republicans who signed on to the doomed Texas voter fraud lawsuit. Let's not forget those. But a much earned number 1 garbage person of the week in the same week that he was determined to be the jerk of the year by TYT at 60% of the vote, Mitch McConnell for single-handedly blocking COVID relief. Or you could input watering it down, putting in needless things like COVID, like corporate liability, all of that for making it not what it needs to be. Total garbage, all of them, but especially Mitch McConnell.
I agree. I also don't like Mitch McConnell.
I don't like. I thought about it, and I'm pretty sure I don't like him. Okay, that said, what's coming up on Twitch later on today?
On Twitch later on today, we got definitely happy half hour after post game. It is who's on it? Judith Ben Ezra had a program for TYT. And then also after that at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we have Common Room with myself, Sloan Hughes from Funny or Die, Lucid Fox, and Kitty Cosmos from Twitch. You're gonna love it. It's really fun. We have some great. We talk about nipples, and we haven't shot yet, but that's what I plan. Whataboutism with nipples.
Okay. Anyway, thank you, Brett. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
By the way, also, I'm going to be leading the first hour of the Young Turks today, and from now on for Fridays, I'm going to be joined, I believe, by Ben Dixon and Aaron Ryan. So that should be a lot of fun. And in the second hour, I believe it's going to be Anna Kasparian, I think Jared Jackson, and I believe David Dole. Not 100% sure, but I believe that's what's going on. So definitely stay tuned later on for that. I want to read just a few more comments before we close things out. Stone Eagle Dragon says, all bow to your supreme overlord, John Iadarola, commander of the Dragon Horde and breaker of news. And Brett, I guess. I like it. My favorite part's the last part, but I like the whole thing, Stone Eagle. Thank you. Brianna Circus says, not as badass as Obi-Mom, but I've converted a bunch of friends and fam to dragons for a progressive cause. Or else what good is government if we go backwards or stay the same? Please watch David Attenborough. I've watched plenty of David Attenborough, don't worry about that. But thank you, Brianna, and I do appreciate that. I appreciate everyone who's such a good ambassador for the show, for the network, or for progressivism itself. And that's why I like to acknowledge individual people. I always feel bad because literally everyone you acknowledge is 99 people that you're not. But thank you to everyone, do appreciate it. Mikhail says, hi John, can I claim Dragon before someone else takes it? I'm not very creative. I like it. I think it's pretty good. No one else thought of it. So apparently you are. Tone Stower says, I am sure she clutched her pearls that she dislodged from her boss's butt. What a buffoon. That's gross. That one's for Francesca right there. Thank you for that super chat. Very interesting update on Twitch. Peace Love Dave says, I've never seen Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mark Hamill in the same room. And now that I think about it, I haven't either. That's a good one. Or Q, I haven't seen any of the three in the same room as the other. Oh my God. Let's see. Daniel says, I bought a Dr. Coffee at Target. I am going to take down that company for daring to use the word doctor in their product. Peace Love Dave says, I have an honorary doctorate in leisure studies that I got for free online. I insist on being called Dr. Peace Love Dave. Well, then I will use that in the future. Yeah, my friend Quay has a doctorate in psychology. He's Dr. Aquelas Gordon. Nobody thinks that he's a medical doctor because nobody's actually that stupid. Nobody's as stupid as Tucker and his audience are pretending people are to justify the 7-minute hate that they conducted. I get it, you just wanna be mad. There's some people that is all that they can bring to this. Anyway, very frustrating, but thank you to everybody who joined us today and throughout the week. Hope we gave you a little bit of information, a couple of laughs possibly, had a little bit of fun. And like I said, not only is there more going on later on Twitch, but I'm gonna be on the main show, so you can definitely look forward to that. Until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.